First thing I want to tell you is that I have hacked the TED speech. You will learn everything you want to know about branding and building social communities in the digital age in the next 3.5 minutes. Because I am ADD too. So the remaining 10.5, 9.5, whatever minutes will be all filler. So I wanted to let you know, first of all, that branding today has evolved. And thank God, because traditional branding was like molding fog. You ask 100 different people what branding is, and you get 100 different answers. The first two things I want to tell you about branding today is that it doesn't matter what you tell people about your product or service. It matters what they say about it. 80% of people don't believe what you say in advertising and so forth and marketing materials anyway. So good luck finding the other 20%. The second thing I want to point out is that it's not so much the quality of your product that matters, it's the quality of the community that you build around that product. Quality of the community, not necessarily the quantity of the community. And I'll explain that as we go along. So a few years ago, I was faced with a problem, which today we would call loosely about authenticity. I had a client who was being inauthentic. Of course, we didn't have that word back then, so that alone was a little bit problematic, figuring that out. But the other thing was that people were talking about Apple tribes and the Nike cult, the Nike tribes and the Apple cult and all that kind of thing, but no one had really nailed how you could do that for yourself. And so that's why even today we have Gatorade spots that look like they're 1980s Nike commercials. And so I took some time to figure it out, and I think that I did. And it was really about building a belief system. Brand communities are a belief system. So it's how do you build that belief system that attracts others who share your beliefs? And that's the thing that people building new products and services leave out. We're so focused on building that product that we think of branding as being, we have a logo and we have a website. Well, that's not your brand. And that's why 9 out of 10 new products fail, because you haven't really built the cluster of people around your product or service that are going to attract others. First of all, believe in you, but also attract others. And so they not only buy you, but they buy into you. So that's what we're going to learn in the next 3 minutes. So the question you can ask yourself, or I ask you, is why do these black and white geometric shapes mean nothing to us other than the fact that they're a circle, square, and triangle, whereas these black and white geometric shapes mean a whole lot to us, and they are embedded with meaning. And that's the whole point. How do we move from being meaningless to becoming meaningful and create a billion-dollar enterprise like these brands? Communities are belief systems. Once you build a belief system, you attract others who share your beliefs. Belief systems are a construct of 7 things: a creation story, a creed, icons, sacred words, rituals, non-believers, and a leader. Once you have that construct created, you ping all of the points that we need as human beings in order to understand and comprehend you, both from a rational level and from an emotional level. So you ping these things, okay? And that's what attracts people. The first one is the creation story. We all know that Apple started in a garage. There are amazing creation stories out there. We're having our talk here in a museum. Outside of this store, there are lots of paintings hanging out there. Those paintings are worth something because of what they call the provenance, right? The provenance is the creation story. Who painted it? Where does it come from? Who owned it before the museum did? And that's why the painting is worth $1 million instead of $10. There are several fascinating creation stories, but I only have 14 minutes. So I'll just share one with you really quickly. Estee Lauder, who created the Estee Lauder company, in her creation story is that she and Charles were living in a kind of seedy hotel in Paris, France. She had a great perfume that she wanted the local department store to sell. She went to the department store buyer. He wanted nothing to do with her. He kicked her out, basically. She, on her way out the door, she spilled the perfume in the perfume department. For the next week, the women of Paris wanted that perfume. They called Estee Lauder back in. Boom. Once we know where you're from, tell us what you're about. Your values and your purpose and what you believe in is crucial, right? Whether it's think different, just do it, e pluribus unum, semper fi, it's important. The third thing, once we know where you're from and what you're about, identify yourself. Icons are quick concentrations of meaning that let us know who you are. And they also tell us if you're safe, if we're safe, or if we're in danger. Icons are hardwired to our brains, our primal brains, to let us know if we're safe or in danger. Icons cover all of the senses: sight, taste, sound, smell, etc. The smell of your grandmother's cooking, the feel of a teddy bear, and so forth, the feel of fine Corinthian leather, right? So after icons work closely with rituals. And there can be positive rituals or there can be negative rituals. I always say if you want a positive ritual, get a hug. If you want a negative one, call Comcast. But your brand vitality comes from the number of positive repeated engagements that you have with your community. Rituals include selfies, they include all the apps you have. You probably have like 100 apps on your phone, your iPhone or your Google, Android, and you probably use about 7 of them. If you have WhatsApp, you probably use 3 of them, right? And the reason for that is that the user interface and the user experience is kind of funky in the other ones. And it's not as pleasant. So that experience is a ritual. Shopping is a ritual. This experience is a ritual. So is Comic-Con, so is Burning Man, and so forth. These rituals are constructed. We have certain expectations when we walk in. If they aren't met, we become disappointed, and so on. So once we know where you're from and what you're about, you've identified yourself, we know how we use you, we know how to act. This is Jack Threads. I'm wearing a Jack Threads shirt right now. Jack Threads is one of the new hot fashion companies in Manhattan. They're part of the Whole Dollar Shave Club, Warby Parker Group. I'm part of their beta test. And this is online shopping for guys. And I noticed that in the whole payment process, there was a little buggy. And so I sent them an email. Well, they fixed that bugginess that day, within about 2 hours. If Jack Threads was part of a large fashion corporation, you know that if they read my email at all, it would have been moved to the Monday status meeting, Monday morning, and involved in the whole, the corporate cluster. But the fact that Jack Threads solved this immediately is a part of their ritual, part of their protocol, and this gives them an unfair advantage. Once we know where you're from and so forth, all communities, social communities have special words that they use. Whether you are a surfer or a coder, whether you work in the fashion business, whether you're a marketer, whether you work in art business, we all have our own words. Ice grinded skinny decaf latte, the words we had to use if we wanted to buy coffee at Starbucks. It's not just words. A few weeks ago, who heard about the whole Pokemon Go thing for about a week? Hands? Anyone? Some of you? A lot of you. And the rest of us went, what the hell is this? Right? So it's not just the words, but it's the whole feeling of the thing, too. And then there are non-believers. As marketers, we always feel that once everyone realizes our genius, everyone's going to buy us. And of course, that doesn't happen. There are people who want to buy coffee at Starbucks, and there's going to be Dunkin' Donuts over there. Okay? There are people who like the Cubs, and others who like the Red Sox. Yankees, Mets, and so forth. Republicans, Democrats, let's not go there. And so in strategy, marketing strategy especially, figuring out who you're not, what you never want to become, can really help you figure out who you are and what you do want to become. So Game of Thrones, I had to throw that in. And then finally, yes, this is a kind of a spoiler here. One of them is going to win. And then finally, there's the leader. And this is the person who set out against all odds in the world at large in order to recreate the world according to their own point of view. And whether that's Oprah Winfrey or Disney or Steve Jobs, Henry Ford, whoever that it may be, or the presidents, Washington through Obama, they are responsible for putting together all these pieces of code so that it's bundled together and resonates with us and makes us relevant. So what all this becomes then is a strategic brand narrative. It's strategic because it's actionable. Okay, it's not molding fog. You can activate any one of these pieces. You can decide where these pieces go. You can distribute them through all of your media. Where does the creation story go? Where does the creed go? And so forth. Do we need to redo our packaging? Do we need to redo our logo? Like Google, Uber, and everyone else did last year. In terms of a narrative, this is what it looks like. You can break this down for just about any company, any person, any place, anything, including yourself. So this is for Apple, the United States of America. And by the way, the longer that something has been in existence, the further out these things go, whether it's icons or whatever. Game of Thrones. I had to put that in there. You could even suggest that the foundation of our society is based upon the fact that two people believe in each other so much that they're willing to commit the rest of their lives together. So how does that work? The creation story, where'd you guys meet? The creed, I love you back, the icons, the rings, the flowers, the engagement cards, and all of that kind of thing. God help you if you forget any one of them. The rituals, the dating, the going steady. A woman once shouted out, divorce. The sacred words, I love you, honey, Pookie, darling, dear. The non-believers, which tend to be, your ex, girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other, spouses, single people. Again, someone once yelled out, mother-in-law. And then the leaders, one or both of you, depending on who does the checkbook. So this is why when you break up with someone, it becomes so painful. It's like your the cells are bursting because you have destroyed all of this, or most of it, right? And so now you know. Mr. Sai, we haven't seen him in a long time. And the reason is that he was a one-hit wonder. He was a fad, right? And this happens a lot in fashion where people start wearing something and all of a sudden they're not anymore, red socks or something. And so the reason for this is that no pieces of code were built around Sai other than the fact that he had this thing that went viral and then disappeared, right? We knew where he was from, Korea, but we didn't really learn anything else. And that's what happens in fashion and other things as well, is they become a fad rather than a brand that lives for 100 years. So this is why we believe in people, whether that's Lady Gaga or you, in places, whether that is New York City or the United States of America. This is how we can keep people from moving from Brooklyn to San Francisco or vice versa. And things, whether it's products and services or it's concepts like global warming, like civil rights or voting. So once you move something from being meaningless to becoming meaningful, you also move people from going, who cares about that, to I care about that, to the point where they're willing to believe in something, they do believe in something so much that they're willing to stand in front of a tank or in front of a bullet. And it really gets down to what do you believe in so strongly that you're willing to die for? So the new mission is, how do we create a community around us, a person, place, or thing, that is so passionate about our success that they're willing to create it themselves. And that's it. Thank you.